Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Champions Podcast with myself, Heather McCoy,
Champ Squires.
and today we wanted to be able to have Champ share something special and exciting that happened within his family in this month, actually, and that was the wedding of his brother Leighton and now new sister-in-law Christina, and their lovely wedding and relationship that Champ has been able to watch grow over the years. And so Champ is going to try to keep it together while he discusses this because I know it's so emotional and such a joyful time in his family's life. And so I'm going to let Champ share on how the day was. So they got married, what was it, November the 1st,
November
right?
1st.
Okay. And how was that as a brother's perspective to watch your little brother, which he's not little because Leighton is so tall. I
Towers over
feel like,
me.
yeah, Leighton looks so much like his father, Terry. And I know that it was obviously an absence with your dad not there physically. What was that like as a brother to watch your brother grow to not only being the man he is today, but now being a married man and now you having a sister for the first time in your life?
So, first of all, I do want to say thank you for being able to share this because I look at life from a completely different perspective than a lot of folks and on a lot of different things. And so that day, that weekend was so just an overwhelming sense of joy and pride. I told somebody the following Monday, had lunch with a mentor and a pastor friend, and I said, everything about this day was perfect, or this weekend was perfect. And they kind of looked up at me and gave me that smirk of, okay, but how can it be perfect? Because we don't live in a perfect world. And by all means, it's all fallen. And I think it was perfect because God makes things perfect. He takes the broken pieces of our lives, of our situations, and make them grand. And it's all about our perspective. Heather, you know as well as I do, on here we spend a lot of time, if we had kind of bloopers or repetitive things that we say, like it's all about perspective. It's all about perspective. It's all about perspective. And for me, perspective and keeping the main thing, which is Christ, the main thing, changes everything. And so, like, I think that everything about that day, that weekend was perfect. Um, it's a mixture of emotions. For me personally, the absence, I think the physicality of that absence was there, but in my heart, there was so much just closure and peace, in the sense that, like, I don't know what heaven is like. I don't know what people in heaven see, or if they see things down here, but just knowing that dad would have been proud. He would have been, you know, he would have probably been telling us all what to do and not to worry about some of the small things. I mean, just let it be, or not worried about anything. Um,
And I want to say something about him being proud because I knew Mr. Terry my whole life. And I would say, besides your mom, nothing made him prouder than his boys. And I can just imagine because you were the minister, so you were able to officiate. And I can just imagine him looking down from heaven and just having the biggest grin and telling all of heaven, that's my boys, because you were officiating. And then his youngest son is getting married. I mean, how special to be able to say, you were able to officiate your brother's wedding. How was that for you in that role?
so so a couple of funny stories in that. So I've said from previous episodes when we've talked about this situation, especially even with this episode with mom of several episodes back, when Leighton got engaged to Christina, when Leighton and Christina got engaged, my immediate go-to was for the next 6 months, because that's approximately how long their engagement was, 6 month engagement. It's gonna be all about them. It needs to be all about them. Like I want to feel all of the things in relation to that. And so like it was supposed to be all about them. And that was my hope. That was my joy. That was my heart to see like them kind of walk through every stage of that and just like know, hey, you've got an army behind you. You've got a group of people that love you. We're gonna do this together, and we're gonna have our village to walk with us. And so that was kind of where that went. And the funny story was, I I think I kind of knew that that was going to be my role in it, but I never really wanted to come out right out and say it, just because of my pride and arrogance, because I struggle with that as is. Let's just be honest. Um, and so I didn't really come right out and say it. And then when I was asked, I was very honored to be asked to do that. Um, Now, I didn't do their premarital counseling at obviously, but just to be able to kind of sit in those some of those conversations with them and like talk about what is marriage, what does it mean, and you'll find that one of my biggest takeaways from that was marriage. There's a difference between a contract and a covenant. A contract is like a bill um, that you get. This can be a contract. It's a bill. Um, a covenant, and this can be ripped up, shredded, and thrown into the garbage. Whereas a covenant is something that God has established or is establishing, and you have to step in to say, I'm either in it or I'm not. And even when I don't feel like I want to be in it, I know I can't just rip it up and tear it up and it's a choice. And so that was kind of my big thing. And it was just it was such an honor to do that. And a couple of the funny parts of it, so the day of I was still able to be a part of like our family was still um very much involved in the whole thing. So like watching folks, getting ready together and like being with the groomsmen as they did their whatever they, their thing. And and our family, as you know, Heather, is so close knit. And so um just being a part of that. And so as the time grew closer, I went into our pastor study to get my robe and stuff on and the stole, and I didn't realize I had already had the mic on, but I didn't realize it was actually turned on. So there was some hot mic moments. Everybody heard me talking from the back of the church, or from the front, but they could hear me in the sanctuary. And so Kelsey had to come back and say, "Turn the mic off, turn the mic off." Um, and I was like, I didn't realize it was still on, but okay. And then the other thing was there was probably close to 300 people there. And so probably 5, 10 minutes before the service, I took it upon myself to the way our church is set up, you can step out into like the main hallway of the pastor study and see out one side or down one side, one aisle. And that whole aisle was full, and or that whole side was full. And I can just remember sitting or standing there. The door was open. People were still coming in or being ushered in. And I just the pride and the joy and the love that I felt for our family, not just for me. Like again, this and I'm being serious. When I say it was not about me, it's not. when I know that people love the people that other people love the people that I love, it means something to me.
And there was 300 people there for your brother.
Yeah, and for all of us to that had walked, they had watched us grow up, they had been with us through mountaintops and valleys, and
Now they got married at Lewis Chapel, right?
which is our home church, and
Yeah.
so that also kind of played
Sentimental.
a sweet, sentimental role into it, and I don't know, that just like I stood there and I looked and I lost it. And I think when some of my family that was sitting at one of some of the fronter areas of the church saw that, they were like, "Oh, oh dear, this isn't going to be good. He's not going to be able to pull himself together fast enough to do whatever he's called to do." And I'm like, "No, just shut the door and I'll be fine." And so when it was time, when it was showtime, as I call it, it was I knew, I knew that was like that adrenaline. I mean, it was like, okay, here we go. There's no turning back now. Um, and just to see the joy and to see how fortunate we are. And I hope that we'll have some time in one of our next episodes together to even talk about that from a perspective of gratitude, because that was the thing that I think just like I knew it was showtime. I knew I had to hold it together, and I did. Thank goodness.
Mhm.
Uh,
And we
but
joke about Champ obviously being emotional.
very
My
sentimental.
granddaddy was actually the same way. I mean, he could hear a song and he would just be bawling in church. And so we joke about it, but at the same time, there's something special about being able to show those emotions because, like you said, you knew when it was showtime, God was going to put you together so you could quit crying and do what you had to do.
Yeah.
And I want to ask a question because obviously you grew up in Lewis Chapel. What was that like? Obviously, you talk about the joy of seeing other people. What was it like for you to feel like I was raised in this church when I was a little boy? Now, because you have preached at Lewis Chapel since you became a minister.
No, actually,
Oh, you
no,
haven't? You
no,
haven't. So,
no.
well, what was it like for you to officiate in that same church that you grew up in?
So, um, so I think those are parts of the sentimental. The only thing that I've done, I mean, the only thing that I mean, yes, I have preached in the church before, but not since I've stepped into this role of where I am now. Um, as pastoring St. Matthew, and so it's just been because of time and other responsibilities, and so like now I've baptized one of our dear friends, one of their children there already, or since I've been in this role. But I think sitting in that space, sitting on a stool in that space, um, was humbling because, and Heather, you know this, and we never shared the link to this, but I wrote a blog post of several years ago entitled "The Church That Built Me." Um, and not that it has anything to do with the song by Miranda Lambert, "The House That Built Me." But that's kind of where I got that idea from, was that like there are different things that build us, that form us, that shape us. And that just that her title has always, that title of that song, even though I think it's so cheesy sometimes, the title of that song is stuck because that's what happens. These are places, these are walls that form us and that shape us. And so, like for me, that was surreal. Um, I tell people that I'm not a fanboy type person. I don't like get culture shock or celebrity shocked, but it's humbling when you come back and you never forget where you came from. Um, and so all of those people in that church, again, go back to the mountaintops, the valleys, like they've all sat there and they've all been with us. And mom would be the first one to tell you, like, we all know it. Like there's no denying it. Like that's hub, that's home, and it'll always be home. Um, I am not a huge sentimental person that like has to have every little memento or save it or hold it or like look at it every day. But like you know the feeling. It's not the thing, but you know the feeling. And so for me, that was one of the big things. Um, and I never really cried a lot during the wedding. I didn't. I think there was one or two times where when the first was when the doors flung open, um, because they didn't do the new cultural thing of the first look. That was the first look was the first look, and so I think that was the first. Um, the second was Heather. You talk about dad having the pride of his boys, which you're right. I'm not discrediting that at all. But mom has that same level of pride and joy, and so watching her come walk in, be escorted by Leighton, and that kind of thing, and just watching her see, or watching him seat her and know that that's this is happening and this is real, and like that threw me for a loop because some of the songs that we did for those kind of um, um, processionals were gratitude and the goodness of God. And both of those songs for me and for our family have been kind of like anthems, fight songs. This is kind of cheesy, but it's true. I wake up to the song Gratitude by Brandon like every single day. That's my alarm. Like that's just, and people find it cheesy. And I had somebody, do you really do that every day? And so somebody was on the phone with me a couple months ago, and they heard me say, set an alarm for so and so at 7 o'clock, and it was like set it to gratitude. And you're like, oh, so that wasn't a joke. And I was like, no, that wasn't a joke. Um, and so like those have been the things that have guarded us through and walked us through. And so like and then we had the current pastor of St. Matt, or not St. Matthew, Lewis Chapel, Mel Thompson, help and give a kind of a prayer of consecration over them, because that out of respect for him and his leadership. And so that was just a special time because I'll be honest, when they did that toward the end of the service. And we asked Christina and Leighton to kneel after they had lit their unity candle, and he was going to pray. And so they knelt right in front of me, and Mel was to my right. And I remember I just grabbed both of their hands. He had his hand on their shoulder, but I don't know. It was just something about that for me that I grabbed their hands and was like, I don't know what your life is going to be like as a couple, but all right, and I don't know, Christina, what we've known you for 5 years. We love you dearly, but here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stand with you through any of this. And I will say the last thing that I'll share about about the service itself was one of the things that I made sure in kind of a short homily about the difference between the contract and the commitment was both of our parents, neither one of their marriages were perfect. Let me be very clear. But I said, Christina, you've been able to see your parents truly love each other, probably through some difficult seasons or whatever. And you hold on to that. You watch that. You're guided by that example. Now, Leighton, you've watched from your perspective, you watched the part of your vows that says for better or worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. And I think I made that the reason I made that so clear, and I think people were surprised when I said that because maybe nobody had ever put it in those perspectives. But for me, that was something that needed to be said. And the third thing was the people need to have a response. So I said, as a congregation or a group of witnesses that are gathered here to celebrate this day, to witness this day, will you commit to praying for, to supporting, to encouraging? Like everybody wants to like come and see, but at the end of the day, it's not all about, I mean, it is, but it's not. It's not all about the come and see. It's about, are you willing to step in? Are you willing to encourage? And I could get theological in that because that's something that's always been critical for me. Like, I don't want to do a half-hearted or a cheap offered experience. I want us to walk in it together. And that's what our family, I think, has always done. Um, we talk about in our family all the time, we're all so close. Like all of my aunts and uncles were helping Leighton get ready and tie ties and like we don't do- we when we do Thanksgiving and Christmas, there's like 30 to 40 to 50 people there. Like I don't I don't live in a small family and I don't like your immediate family is your mom, your brother, your sister-in-law, sister-in-law as I call her, but like there is that immediate, but my immediate is still so large because I think I've just been taught like you fight for each other and you support each other and you help each other and lastly you strive to point each other to Christ. And so like I can't get you to heaven, but I can sure lead by example to the best of my ability. And so those are some things that I think are important.
Yeah, and I mean, just what a special day for your entire family. I mean, just you'll all be able to look back at how joyful it was, and I'm excited for Leighton and Christina to start this new chapter together. And it's even hard for me to believe he's married because I just remember him growing up, and I'm like, wow, says how old me and you are now too. So,
Yeah, and
but
and I
it
think
is special, and you and Leighton have always been, best friends as brothers, and now you're both in a new chapter of life and this part of adult life, and so I think it's even going to draw y'all even closer with him just being in a more adult new chapter, and just how exciting for your family.
well, we're thrilled about it. The Lord has been, everybody used to think it was so cheesy when or you people used to say like it's easy for some people to say like they're so blessed. And sometimes I'd hear people say that and say that's just a facade. Like that's just a catchphrase that you can make yourself look. I don't want to make myself look a certain way. I just want you to know that when I say I'm blessed beyond what I could ever dream, that's all I've ever known. Doesn't mean it's always been easy. Doesn't mean it's always been perfect. But I'm thankful for what it has been, and we all are. So there's that.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add as we wrap up this episode today?
I no, I think the if there were ever any takeaways, I think living in gratitude, living in the joy of not just a wedding, living in the joy of life, and taking the perspective. And so those would be the life, the journey, the joy of the perspective, and the gratitude for what you've been given.
And I think you said something so profound when you said it may not be perfect, but God makes perfect things. And I think that's so profound because you can look at anything in life and say, well, this isn't perfect, but in God's perspective, it is because He made it, and we should appreciate that. And so I hope y'all enjoyed getting to hear Champ's perspective of the special day. And I know it meant a lot to him to be able to not only be a part of that day in that way as the regular wedding party would be, but also be able to officiate and now to walk with Leighton in this new chapter of his life as a married man and a godly man. And so we hope y'all enjoyed this today and check back again to the next episode. And we hope y'all have a very blessed week.